Back in my college years, I had a few years of doing figure drawing, right? And figure drawing has this aspect to it where it's extremely relaxing, to the point where you kind of fall asleep, right? If you don't watch out. And I had this bomb ass teacher. Like he was amazing. I gotta say, all my live drawing lesson teachers, they've always been the best. None of them have been like annoying or bad spirited or in bad faith. No, they've all been like incredibly fucking awesome people. But they tried to explain to me so many things sometimes where I just couldn't get it, because I was for the longest time stuck in drawing in this like this very very basic, by the way, not even that great, like anime style, because it was all I could draw essentially. And I expanded my repertoire a bit. It was or very cartoony, but I just didn't like to draw cartoony, and that's why I never really did it. Even though I could have made some good stuff with it if I just gave in, right? But what they did, what all the figure drawing teachers gave me though, were years of just explaining how certain stuff works, and anatomy and stuff like that, which I had never taken up until that point. And they were extremely understanding, because they were just like, hey, you're a student that wants to learn. Because that's how I approached it. I approached it as knowledge, as being able to level up from stuff, you know. So my story goes that to like my second year of college. In my second year of college, no, third year, second on third year, I failed a class, a class, and they had this system in our school, right, where you have the practical classes and you have the theoretical classes, and the theoretical classes were all like individual packets. They were all individuals, like hey, if you want to go to number 2, you have to complete number 1, and so on. This means you could technically fail number 1, go to year 2, but still have like a lesson from year 1 you're bringing over, right? This is college again, not high school rules. However, for the practical part of our courses, this wasn't the case. So you had to succeed for all the practical courses, and then you were able to go to the second year. Now, that didn't mean that if you completed a module, you had to do that module again. But if you failed one of them, you would have to wait to start all the second ones until you can complete all the first ones, right? Now, that happened to me because audio was the teacher was a really big dickhead. Now, I'll also be honest, I wasn't that great at it, so it's like a twofold system. I wasn't that great at it, and he was kind of an asshole. So, like, okay, combined it, right? So, what ended up happening was I completed, like, to go from year 2 to year 3, because year one I completed everything from my first go, right? Year 1 was just great. But from year 2 and year 3, you have 3 years for a bachelor, right? I basically completed all the practical stuff except audio, and therefore I got held back. This was a pain, especially because it's like, oh my god, really? One course that made like all the others stick back, but oh well, you know. So I had to do this extra year, and this extra year felt like an in-between year. The handy thing about it was I could get all my theoretical shit out of the way, so that in year 4, basically, I would have a full year of only my practical stuff, which I used to make a short film back in the day, to basically make my final short film, because I had way more production on it, because I made it in like Blender 2.8 when that came out, right? When that was like just released. So, coming back to my story on life figure drawing, and where this factors in, right? Now, my teacher was an absolute unit, and what he said was like, hey, I don't fucking care if you want to continue drawing, even though you're in the year where technically you're not allowed to take my classes. Just hang out. If there's a place, now I'm gonna have to give has to give priority to the students that actually have to take the course, right? So he'll help them out and stuff like that more. However, if I'm just there, he didn't care, and at first he thought I was bluffing when I said I would come. This is the funny thing about it, right? I remember that, where he was like, "Wait, what?" He didn't think I would actually come to all the classes. Because what ended up happening, you see, he said, "Oh, yeah, it's no problem. Just come to the classes, and it'll be fine." But what ended up happening was me actually almost like a full year. I think I only like missed 1 or 2 or 3 classes or whatever, but like I was there more than the students that had to take the course, put it that way, right? So yeah, and in that time I learned jack shit. Because like no, actually I learned a lot. I like anatomy, to put it this way, it's in my head, I'm just not able to draw it that well. Here I succeeded fairly well. I'm surprised with this nose how well that shit turned out. But like for the most part, I was still drawing like cube boxes, because what I mainly wanted to do was get a feel for three-dimensional space. So instead of like let's say you have an arm, right, and a lot of this stuff is in the back of my head as well. Let's say you have an arm, right, and you want to have your character. Yeah, because again, they were live models that were there, right? You had your live model that was like posing with their arm out. What I would do, instead of try and find the gesture and replicate what I saw on paper, I would go about it in a very analytical way, almost in a stupid way, kind of, where I would start drawing these boxes as if I was making like a polygon PS1 model. But what that was good for was my 3D space like head building. And the funny thing is, this stuff did carry over a bit in 3D, where in 3D I can visualize in my head how I want it to look before I actually do the thing, right? So that like became a thing. Maybe I should do that on stream. Like, I'm just gonna do live figure drawings whilst essentially just doing what I did back in the day. I would also test out like drawing hacks I would find online. Like one I found particularly fun back in the day was from Ethan Beckard, which was to learn to draw with triangles. But it wasn't like triangles, it was like a sided triangle, like a Dorito, something like that. And what that would do is like make a full figure out of them. So like, let's say we're doing this arm thing again, right? Like then we have the shoulder muscle, which basically goes like that into like a bicep muscle like that, into again a big forearm like that, triangle, triangle, triangle. And eventually what that led me to was this realization with this other Instagram like post, where to draw fingers, if you look at a finger, it's this three-sided thing, right? But you can simplify it by going to the middle and then like just kind of, unless it's all folded up, you kind of just make one big shape out of it. And therefore, for a lot of drawings, I was able to and it's like, holy shit, then you have a finger, and then everybody's like, oh, look at that, you drew a finger, finally. And you can make it pretty consistent. Another thing from Ethan I learned about like hand drawing was treat your hands like mittens. So you have your open hand, and you have your thumb, right? And my teachers would be like, it's cool that you're drawing all this stuff, but could you just like fucking just draw the stupid model? But I was like, no, I'm just testing out stuff. But because again, I wasn't a student for the course, because I already completed the course, he was like, okay, it's cool that you're doing this experiment thing, just don't forget to work on like your line work, because otherwise you'll only be able to sketch. Which, he wasn't wrong on that. That is what ended up happening. But like if you treat your hands like mittens with like one finger off, you can do you can sketch a lot of like poses. Like let's say you have this drawing, and then over the course of the year, the boxes will become more complex, and then the more complexity I would add to them, the more I would slowly start to feel out the anatomy. There was this era where I started to use the trigger beam, as I call it. If you ever looked at Studio Trigger's characters, mainly the ones in Kill la Kill, let's see if I can get construction drawings, and how they make you able to like recreate anything you want. However, you have to really put the extra mile in to then come up with your own like art. Like really shoddy art like that is one thing, but then okay, you want to make it line art, so how the fuck do you do that? Like okay, then you have to go in there, overline everything, make sure that the order of stuff makes sense, because otherwise you might just be adding unnecessary complications to things that weren't really there. Also, you lose so much detail if you don't go with like the scratchy line art, right? And that was always my problem. Still is my problem. I could do scratchy. I can't do finished. Also because I'm impatient. My impatience is also my undoing, by the way. Which is a lot about like the VTubing channel I have, right? Like most people do like a model reveal, and then they build up their hype by doing memes in multiple communities. But I don't have patience for that, so I just launched. Why do I keep seeing we? That looks fine, but you could see a million mistakes with it, right? Like this is wrong compared to this. They're not the same shape. The balance is not really there. It's like you add a whole bunch of mistakes that you do by just, you know, not being that great of a line artist. And how do you practice line art drawing? Well, you do it by just fucking doing it. You know what, funnily enough, helped a lot with anatomy drawings as well. And to get back to what like these anatomy, so I did like more years than was required of like anatomy drawing, right? With very intensive anatomy drawings in that year where I had the extra time for it. So if I didn't get that much good at it, what did it translate in? It translated in my 3D work, because I understand how the shapes are supposed to look. Doesn't mean I'm capable of doing them all greatly, but like I'm able to tell how they're supposed to look. Because of that, you know, then you build upon that. Oh yeah, let's do the fucking brush thing, by the way. Now that I have it here. Doesn't work as... It's not as loud as I thought it would be. It's kind of surprising. Brushy brush. Brush. That's odd. I thought that would be more. This is also the problem with having gone to college and stuff like that. I can tell when something looks wrong, but that doesn't mean I'm able to fully do it myself. Which is an incredibly frustrating ability. Which is actually why I stopped drawing for a while, because I just didn't feel the progress. Oh, I do want to tell you about this cool little thing, right? So in vector layers, if you add like a vector layer to your... if you add like a... God, you can't see it. Believe me, if I could tell you, there's two types of layers. You have raster and you have vector. Now the cool thing with vector is, let's say you're drawing line art, right? Like let's say you're drawing line art over this, but all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, how do I keep this thing going? Oh no, I've drawn the booty line art. You're like, oh no, whatever will I do? I have these two cross sections with vector lines. You can delete one of them, and it deletes it up until an intersection point, and do stuff like that. Which I think is just incredibly neat.